How was the reception?
It was a blast. It was about 25 minutes long, really, to tell you the truth. It was I was having so much fun. Never in my life have I danced like that before, so
a lot of family members that we didn't expect to dance did get up there. I mean, when we spoke to you ahead of time, we told you, oh, they're not a dancing crowd, don't worry about it. But they got up and moved. You seemed to read the crowd really well.
It was fun.
The most pleasing part for me was the fact that I was so busy with everything, planning everything else. When we had our meeting, I had maybe 3 or 4 ideas. I knew what sort of music I wanted to have for a certain portion of the event. I was able to choose a style of music and entrust that you could follow through with that. I didn't have the time to sit there and pick artists and pick specific music for certain events. You know, the father-daughter dance, or for our introduction, we were able to do that, which is maybe 5 songs total that we actually had to pick ourselves.
Yeah.
But the fact that I was able to trust you and you chose the music when I said I would prefer to have something more laid back and classical during the dinner portion of the reception, you did a phenomenal job. I was so thrilled that I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't have to spend that extra time away from all the other planning and getting everything else organized, that I could entrust that with you, and you really followed through with it.
Well, we went to that wedding expo, and that's where we first saw you.
Which all men love going to.
Yeah.
I didn't like it either.
She didn't like it either. The problem is we went to the vacation expo first, and we're kind of like, oh, we can get into that for free, can't we? Damn. So that's where we first encountered you. We had a conversation with you there, and you seemed to be the most human of all of the DJ entertainment type of people that we met. All the live entertainment people were very eclectic, and just they wanted to do things their way. And some of the other DJ services were more into the whole funky chicken routine, and they seemed to be a little whacked and too left field, or it's just weird. It's strange, and you seemed more human. And I called a few people on the phone. This was one of my jobs. And I talked to a couple people, and some people were like, well, yeah, I can do it. It'll cost this much, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And some other people were, yeah, that'd be great. We can do this, we can do that, do that. And I talked to you, and you're like, so, what are you looking for? How can I accommodate this? And what time of the year are you looking to have it? Oh, yeah, I'm free then. And we had a conversation, like a person-to-person conversation. I wasn't talking to a salesman. I wasn't talking to some whack job artist. I felt like I was talking to a person. And I'll be honest, we found people who were cheaper, but I wasn't impressed with them over the phone. And then we met with you, and we were both really happy. We sat down and we talked to a person. The initial meeting was great, and then even when you came back, it was even better. We're like, well, we know what we want, but we don't know exactly what we want. And you were able to supply us with ideas right there, and we left it, again, very vague with you, but we were very comfortable after the meeting, saying, everything's going to be okay. We don't have to worry about that aspect of it anymore.
I had a specific budget that we wanted to go for with a DJ. I mean, they all tell you when you have a wedding, everything has to be budgeted. You have to figure out what you want to spend for each. And we had an extremely tight, very low budget for this wedding. And when we came across you, you were, although you weren't the most expensive and you weren't really outside of most people's price range, but for us it was a little bit more than we were thinking we wanted to spend. We realized that, we only wanted to pay a certain amount of money, but a little bit extra got us exactly what we were comfortable with. Someone that we could relate to, someone who we felt was going to do what we wanted to do, but not in a structured way. Something where we had to give him, a person or the DJ, we had to give him from point A to point B every single step of the way, instructions. And we felt so comfortable speaking with you. And when we talked on the phone and when we met with you in person, it was just, we decided it was just worth it in this instance, just to go with it. It wasn't hugely expensive, and it was so worth every penny. The level of entertainment surpassed what we expected.
I mean, we didn't have any children at the wedding, mostly due to the setting and financial constraints, but we did have some younger teenage kids there. My sister and my cousin were there, and we had older people. My grandparents were there, and our parents and things like that. And everybody was, oh, I love that song. Every time you turned around, you heard somebody saying, oh, I love that song. You know, even my grandmother said it, my sister said it from 17 to 70. So it was nice to see that everybody was able to participate and things like that.
Some of the auto requests that people made, the monkeys, let's say, or you were able to accommodate that when we didn't necessarily tell you that you might have to ahead of time. The fact that you were able to give us the Star Wars theme was quite great.
Not at all. We did have an extremely tight spatial constraint, and you fit in off to the side perfectly. You weren't too out of the way, and you weren't intrusive at all. And that was one of our biggest concerns with this whole setup is, we're like, it is the end of April, and we could do this outside, but the bugs could be bad, it could rain. I mean, it is spring in New England, the weather can change in 2 seconds. We have to have it inside, at least the reception. The ceremony outside was fantastic.
We didn't plan on it, though, too. That's another thing I'd like to say. 24 hours, the Friday night before the Saturday evening wedding, that Friday night we showed up for our rehearsal, and the owner of the facility said, you guys are getting married outside tomorrow, and I had never even planned on getting married outside. I didn't even think of what we would have to do for ceremony music being outside. You showed up, and you didn't know about it either.
News to me.
It was news to everybody. We showed up. It was raining that morning, so I still didn't anticipate getting married outside, so I didn't make any of those types of arrangements. I get there, and there was nothing to worry about. You were there. You had it under control. We had ceremony music outside. You managed to get everything. I didn't have to worry about that, and that's just so nice to be able to get there and realize that all I had to worry was getting myself down the aisle and getting through that portion of it, and you handled that perfectly.
After the flower extravaganza, that went absolutely seamless, and I was like, hey, all right.
Pretty good. So you were not in the way. Your equipment, we had a small dance floor about the size of our living room, and you were able to stick within those confines of that one table and that little space.
But no, all of our requests were met, and even the spur of the moment, weird things like Carrie said, like the monkeys. I mean, you had it, and everything that we had talked about beforehand, even with the severe lack of direct guidance that we gave you. I mean, the things that you threw together for us fit perfect. It was great.
The fact that I was able to, during our meeting, describe to you a song that I liked and play you a portion of it, you found it and you brought it and we danced to it. And I didn't really worry about it after we met with you. I knew that after our meeting, however couple of hours that we spent together, I knew that I could trust you to do it. You said you'd do it, and you did. And we got there, and we got to dance to that song, and it was... I remember eating during the reception and hearing George Winston come up, the classical music, and I'm like, oh, he found it, he did it! I was very excited. Yeah. We've already recommended you to several people. I know that people at the wedding themselves, we gave your cards out, and they actually took your name.
Actually came up to you and grabbed a couple at the end of the night. Both of my cousins were looking for ideas, unfortunately. So,
but yes, we would recommend you to others. If anybody ever came up, and we have already recommended you to other people. When we were looking for a DJ, one of my things, we sat down and talked a little bit about what we were looking for. We wanted someone who would come in and sort of run things for us and be the activities director without being the activities director. We wanted someone who would come in and sort of work the crowd, would read the crowd, figure out what sort of group, what sort of music they like to, just by looking at them, figure things out on their own. That's what we were paying that person to do. And not be too in your face. We didn't want someone who was going to be on the microphone all day playing, howdy doody or the clown for the day. We weren't looking for that. We were looking for someone who would be the MC when it was necessary, would get the crowd organized when necessary, and would call things to order when necessary. That was about, and you did that perfectly. You were not on the microphone the whole time saying, you just weren't, you were there, but you weren't
corny.
Thank you, yes. You weren't corny. It
No.
was.
You were there when you needed to be, and when everything was running smooth, you weren't there.
Yeah, and we didn't even have to ask you. A lot of the times you just read when you needed to be present, and you showed up, and you did things the right way. So you're perfect for the job. I mean, you were literally our wedding MC without. You're sort of the wedding coordinator without us having to ask you to. It worked out really well.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.
Beautiful. One
I hope
take.
you have
see
something
that?
to use.